Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Brendan Smith. I'm the Arts Humanities Coordinator for the City of Takoma Park and the organizer of the Takoma Park Arts Series. And we're happy to have our latest poetry reading tonight, Poetry Without Borders, featuring David Camaro, Kim B. Miller, Victoria Moten, and Tu An Nguyen. We've got a lot of different events at the Takoma Park Arts Series, an art exhibition out here in the atrium. We do poetry readings, film screenings, concerts, theater, all kinds of stuff. So if you didn't pick up a brochure on your way in, you can grab one on your way out and also sign up for our e-newsletter. You also can go to tacomaparkmd.gov/arts. So, and now, without further ado, I'll introduce our first poet. As an immigrant from Caracas, Venezuela, David Camaro experienced life in a country where basic human rights weren't respected. He has used poetry as a means of highlighting political oppression to, quote, touch the sacred, not simply the true. He received a BA in literature from the University Central of Venezuela. He's a poet, painter, and actor. Welcome, David.
Thank you for being here. I'd like to start with a sentence from, I think it's Octavio Paz, a Mexican poet I love. He said the poetry is the only that can touch the sacred. Lo único que toca lo sagrado. And my English is not Shakespearean. I try my best. This is a series I made also with some collage a couple of years ago, and inspired me because my thesis degree was about the gesture. Started this ministerial characters. How could one forget your smile crested with modernities that doesn't understand when this whole cacophonic discourse started? It referred to so many others, to so many times, like each of your part, you recreate your own universe interminably. While we're listening attentively to that outlandish English quartet, delirious neopsic, you dissolve me in your bedroom. I am no longer I, nor you the only piece. Do you believe my love to be too weak? You know how to handle it, and you tangle me up with that. So disparate, so particular, you degenerate withstanding. You continue dragging your gratia plena. You profess to love your homeland. The sign of your mouth transgressed the darkness. New God will have to be invented. New reverence to greet your metamorphosis. This is dedicated for one good friend I have in this time. In Spanish say, ¿cómo olvidar tu sonrisa loca de modernidades? Que no entiende cuando empezó todo. Este discurso casi onomatopéyico se refiere a tantos otros, a tantas veces, como cada una de tus partes recreas interminable tu propio universo, mientras oíamos atentos aquel cuarteto inglés estrafalario, neopsico delirante. Me disuelves en tu alcoba. Ya yo no soy yo, ni tú la pieza única. ¿Crees muy endeble mi amor? ¿Sabes cómo aguantarlo? Y me enredas ahora con esos disparates tan particulares, tu embargo degenerado. sigue arrastrando gratia plena. Aseguras amar a tu pueblo, el símbolo en tu boca transgredió la oscuridad. Habrá que inventarse nuevos dioses, nuevas reverencias para saludar tu metamorfosis. Thank you. Thank you. Forget me. On all the face, and behind every trace encounter, figuring to know your dinosaur kill, tripping to be happy in that utopic country of absurd people eternally in love with an eye. Foreboding noise get my attention. In a chain, I only had a smile. Then you show it up in the discourse, unimaginable condescendence, a preamble to the luxury I adored. From them on I felt to be another, engraved in ebony, recreating worlds parallel to you. Olvídame, sobre todos los rostros, y tras cada rastro encuentro, figurando conocer tu pluma dinosaurio, tripeando a ser feliz en aquel país utópico de gente absurda enamorada eternamente de la noche. Presagiosos ruidos llaman mi atención. A cambio solo tenía una sonrisa. Entonces apareciste en el discurso con descendencia inimaginable, preámbulo al luxor que adoré. Desde entonces me sentí otro, como tallado en ébano, recreando mundos paralelos a ti. Bon, that is the two I translate. Somebody help me to translate. But I would like to finish with a poem that I dedicate to my country, because the political situation is very hard. The last 20 years, almost 11 million of people left the country because the political situation is very hard to believe, because the political interests, because the gas, the political people, it's a fraud to me. I think they don't care about the people, just for business. That is very sad. And I usually in my repertoire, when I have shows, I do this poem. Say, Venezuela, escucha firme la voz del renegado. Muchos burbujean de orgullo al cacarear tu nombre. Tus insípidos premiers y tus acaimanados ministros, los urracos generales, policías del Ateneo. Madre patria, suburbio mal cocido, pastel semiengullido por las ratas. Dostoyevsky dio a luz a un idiota. Tú pariste millones. Acorazado el gesto y las turbas chavistas, chauvinistas, mequetrefes del bullicio. Madre patria, me desfago en tus chulos. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Next up is Kim B. Miller. She was the first African-American poet laureate for Prince William County, Manassas, and Manassas Park, Virginia. She writes haiku and has performed at the National Black Theater, Atlas Performing Arts Center, and other venues. Welcome, Kim.
Y'all too quiet. Poetry is not library time. Let me hear your snaps. You hear something you like? Often debate with myself what I'm going to start off with. The question I get the most is, outside of what's a poet laureate, is what is poetry? So I wrote a poem, and I think this is as close as I could get to explaining that. And y'all tell me if y'all can hear me. Not yet. Remember when you thought words had to be in a melody to sing to you? Poetry was a foreign flavor, an acquired taste. You thought poems like Roses Are Red made you well-read. You didn't realize poetry has blossomed. I don't blame you. Poetry is often unrecognizable, spoken with passion and whispered, written on hearts in invisible ink. So how can I expect you to embrace the unseen? Seen in many forms but grouped together as one. What is poetry? Poetry is unsolicited help. It holds us up when pain tries to erase our voice. It allows us to pour into emptiness and create peace. The ingredients in one poem can feed people who didn't even know they were hungry. Poets make feelings tangible. They script mountains into pebbles. Poetic verses feel like the wind caresses every syllable. Some poems rhyme, no reason. They almost have a subtle fragrance, an undeniable scent that is unexpected but welcome. This garden of poets is stunning and diverse, so don't judge your ink by its color. There are no rules. The lines in paper are just suggestions. Besides, a poet's words ascend from the limitation of paper. They break stereotypes. They make tears flow. Poems are medicinal, and poetry is freedom exhaling. Words are not owned. We all just borrow them. Poetry is rented words meant to make a permanent change. It could be a moment or a lifetime of moments. What is poetry? Poetry is the first time you kiss words, and words kiss you back. So in between, I'm going to do haiku because I love haiku. Anybody have an idea what haiku are? A couple of you? Okay, let me change that definition. So for performing poets, there's haiku, which is traditional, beautiful Japanese art form. There's no changing that. It's beautiful as is. There's also something called senryu. 17 syllables, what traditional or not traditional is haiku, only on nature. Non-traditional senryu, any subject. That's the way performing poets do it. We don't say haiku or senryu. We figured you can figure it out. If it's only on nature, you'll know it's a haiku. And if it's not, it's a senryu. Still has to be 17 syllables. These are based on memory, so I may be a syllable off. So I'll point to you. You just say haiku, and we'll get started. Haiku. Just because they're in your nest, that does not mean they want to see you fly. Haiku. You cannot divide yourself into fractions to make someone else whole. Some of you do not have haters unless your mirror started talking. Math ain't hard. Division can multiply hate if you add ignorance. So this next poem is called Black Crayon. I I wonder if the black crayon knows how it's pronounced in Spanish and treated in English. I wonder if the black crayon knows it was never meant to be colored with, only used. If it was discarded, it would be blamed for being unuseful. I wonder if the black crayon knows it is hated. I wonder if it knows it must stay in a corner of the box, segregated from the better colors, since it's too dark, pigmentation challenge, treated like a leper, looked at for problems but not solutions, roasted like charcoal and blamed for the fire. I wonder if the black crayon knows if it broke, it would be blamed for being broken while pretending to be whole. It will not scream. It will stand quietly, still, hoping its color is not the cause of its destruction. I wonder if the black crayon knows if it could not color anymore, it would still be called colored or lack with the B in front of it, black. If it was chosen, it would be drawing something ugly, watching its color be secured to anger, begging for a chance to draw beauty. Black crayons, repent for your misconceptions. When one black crayon draws outside the line, every black crayon is answerable. Maybe they could look softer. Maybe their hardness is a protective coating. A black crayon could write in several languages and be ignored in all of them. Crayons grieve. I wonder how often black crayons cry. Can they hear their own tears, or is solitude louder than pain? Will they draw black tears or just call them periods? Aren't sentences syllabized weapons that end with a black dot? I wonder if black crayons ever compare war stories with black pens. With no paper willing to hold the weight of his thoughts, what are black crayons supposed to draw? Should they lightly sketch how lonely it is inside of a crowded box? This box is so small. Black crayons smell freedom every time the box is open. They are taught discipline. They know their place. They draw whole in pieces. They draw life and defy death. They bleed inside that box. Even when selected, a black crayon knows it's only temporary air. After all, boxes are not made to be empty. Super is a man, but we have to wonder about woman. Okay, I don't want to do that one. Haiku. There's no such thing as the right time, but there is a time you make right. Haiku. It's okay to be scared. Do it anyway. Scared people succeed too. If someone says you shine too bright, tell them to take a seat in your shade. And I'll leave you with this one of my favorite ones, haiku. They thought they broke you, but you're a glow stick. They just exposed your light.
Thanks, Kim. Next up is Victoria Moten. She's an award-winning poet and English teacher here at Takoma Park Middle School and the University of the District of Columbia. It's a quote from her. As a black woman living in America, I often find myself cut off from certain places and opportunities. Our world can be so territorial, with everything within it being owned or governed by someone. Everything except the sky. I know the sky I look at today is the same sky my ancestors saw and my children will see. Welcome, Victoria.
Good evening. I'm going to apologize in advance for my loud toddler in the back. And I do have a few students here, so there will be a test on this tomorrow. Just kidding. All right, I'm splitting this into 3 parts. I'm an Afrofuturist, an Afrofuturist poet, so you will see space all throughout my poetry. But it's split into these 3 parts: time, place, and space. Time. Time has boundaries. I feel imprisoned by it most of the time. It represents mortality, past, and regrets. Here's the first set of poems. Hey, this is a haiku. 40. There was an unkind knock at her door. It was age. She didn't answer. Scar. Index finger traces the outline of a memory, a map to a world seemingly distant, but close enough to dictate the tilt of my axis. The tourist. Momentarily marooned, no camera for miles, I savor the salty air, the night so absolute, it threatens to swallow me. I lean over the rail and dream of joining the mermaids. I contemplate this peaceful nightmare until we dock. It's a small island town. I stop in a souvenir shop. A little girl with cow-licked hair hangs by the door. Her hungry eyes meet mine. I am heartbroken. Too many familiar totems anvil my soul. The children playing in the trash. The old lady staring at the street through cataract eyes. A mama scolding her daydreaming daughter for not finishing her chores. I stop to look at my reflection in the shop window. Our eyes meet once more. Shit, no cash. I kneel and remove one of the many adornments from my body. Bailing this unnecessary freight buoys me. I drift to when this was all a dream. This could never be me, but it is. For brown girls. One morning, I thought about suicide. Not contemplating it, for I wasn't in the mood to end my life. Just in the mirror with a capsule of pills, thought I looked suicidal, with the bed hair and morning ugliness staring back at me. A pretty little black girl killed herself the other day, but I did not see the bed hair and morning ugliness in her pictures, all smile and glow. I couldn't help but think, how many black girls had the same thought? At 6 a.m. in the morning, thought, I could just end this, this suffering. If a tree falls, pluck a star from the sky, grained of sand swallowed by the sea, inky black, more lonely, so vast. No one notices but me. Before the streetlights come on. Sunlight on white fields, sweat soil season yields, the low moan of a life so tough, we can still feel the rough. Mid-morn, jazz-born, exhale the hurt through the horn, the low moan of pain and the blues, by heart we know these tunes. Sun-high picket signs march, raise voices high. The low moan of restitution fills the trek to revolution. Late afternoon on city blocks, crack rock hip hop, rival gang shots, the low moan of the dimming light, trying to revive subdued fight. sunset on TV sets, cell phones and internet, the low moan of despondency, fictitious post-racial society. There is no tomorrow. Divine hands on grains of sand, glass cupped in balled fist, flick of wrist, so quick, toppled castles, monuments of mortal hubris, plot twist, dancing too close to shore, no more. Place. Place represents my anchors, my bonds, roots, presence, life, and home. Nomad. Nomad, don't return home only to find that all the gods of the city have toppled off of their pedestals, their gleaming faces blue from waiting for things to turn around. Nomad, don't return home only to find graveyards of rusted ruins, corrosive relics of a long forgotten era. Nomad, don't return home only to find gray hairs and wrinkles greeting you at your door, serving as stark reminders of mortality, that spring is brief and winter has always been harsh here. Nomad, don't return home only to find that time has had her way with it, and all the monuments to your childhood have been destroyed to make way for the pioneers, the one who referred to your home as another frontier. Nomad, don't return home only to find the footprints of your tribe, the last of the natives who will not welcome your brief tours. Nomad, don't return home, anthropologist, removed by time and space. Wash day. Saturdays, Mama had 4 heads to do. Our 4 crowns gracing frizzy cornrows served as unkempt reminders of the dreaded task, but Mama wouldn't dare let us leave the house with our untamed curls without our untamed curls woven into braids. I didn't understand yet the love in those hours spent grabbing clumps of our hair, combing from the ends to the roots to yield my tender-headed tears, greasing my scalp or the painful slow crawl of my mama's hands dancing over my crown. Now, every once in a while, when I'm frowning at my cuckabugs, as she used to say, I wish it was Saturday, and my mama is here to make sure I don't leave the house with my untamed curls woven into braids. Eviction notice. These cranes crawling all over my city, swallowing whole blocks. I look at patches of land trying to recall what was there, but I forgot. I wrestle with the memory like a lucid dream, wondering, once I'm evicted, who will remember me? Catching fireflies. Standing on top of the city, man in the moon, don't slam my front door, chasing us with the street lights snap on like fireflies on a June night. Finally, space. Space is boundless. It represents the future for me. It's hope, it's freedom. Squinting at our nebulous. Our love, a distant star, soon burst into a fiery brilliance of a supernova. The collapse flung me deep into oblivion, creating a cavernous, chaotic dark web which insatiably fed on everything, leaving unexplained devastation in its path. I, being evolved, millions of light years away, staring up at the sky and marveling at this cosmic wonder, distant, removed from its destruction, able to see the beautiful tapestry of stars created from the stardust it left behind, can then and only then, looking back on the past, can finally forgive myself. Traveler. Body, vessel, trapped inside, I can fly. Life expectancy is distance, not time. For my students and other geniuses I know, they will never understand the lonesomeness of your genius. Your brilliance will always be mistranslated because they don't have the keys to the cipher. They will curse you for it and try to convince you that you're the apprentice, that you must bow to them, worship in their temples, atone for your rebellion. Don't let their ignorance quell your daily victories, for their heroes are not yours, and they will never seek penitence for praising the wrong kings. Flight, another haiku. For just a moment, my wings were not heavy with precipitation. Evening's benediction. She could hear the cicadas in competition with the evening birds, the thread of rain resting in the clouds, dewy on her skin, breeze tangled in the trees as they sway, joining the symphony of nature's evening benediction. The last of the fireflies drift into the inky sky, turning them into stars, drawing her eyes up into the abyss. She wondered how vast and lonely it must be up there, forgetting all about the infinite amount of matter and energy whirling all about. These sometimes colliding celestial bodies were so far away, they didn't dictate the tilt of the axis, but still managed to kick up enough stardust to demand her attention. It often made her feel as if she was being watched. Her mama once told her that people used to pray to the sky, that they spent so much time looking up, they'd mapped out their galaxy before their own geography. This dialogue with the stars helped them circle the globe. Now satellites guide their path. But is there anybody up there watching us? A clap of thunder interrupted her conversation with the eastern sky. Of all the things she missed, what she missed most was his voice. In the quiet sounds of night, she could hear him calling out to her. Supernova, this is to my mother. I lost my mom last April and brought a telescope to try to find her. When I was little, I believed stars were affixed to the sky like water droplets on the window after a good rain, just there adding texture to the view. My mom believed in heaven, freedom, peace. What could be more peaceful than the silence of space, more free than the boundlessness of the universe? Was this not heaven to a terrestrial being like me? But what I do know as I peer through the mirrors looking deep into the abyss is like a supernova, her departure tore a fabric in my universe. And now I have my own little moon orbiting my Earth. How will I ever explain to him that a star that no longer dots the sky dictates the tilt of my axis? That every time I cornroll his hair or kiss him to goodnight or sing to him, that those small acts are remnants of the stardust his grandmother left behind. That she was my sun, radiant and giving all of her light to her daughters. I ask these questions in the mirror, studying her face, light years away. The final poem is actually one of my mom's poems. She had a ton of poems hidden away, and she never got to share them. So her words live in me. This is untitled. We are the future of our people, the seeds God planted long ago. Our parents are the farmers. Their nurturing makes us grow. Different shades of brown are the colors of our skin. We were one of God's creations from the beginning. Courage is our shield when life is not fair, but we are a people who God gifted with flair. History is important to us, although it is not always clear. But as time goes on, the truth clears the air. Desiree L. Merriweather. Thank you.
Thanks, Victoria. And our final poet tonight is Tu Anh Nguyen. She's a Vietnamese-American writer whose work explores border crossings, both literal and figurative, and the intersection of race and gender. Her poetry has been featured in many publications and was recently nominated for the Pushcart Prize. Welcome to.
So these poems are going to sort of go in a little bit of chronological order. So we're going to begin on April 30th, 1975. And many of you know what that date means, but it signifies the day that the United States left Vietnam during the American War in Vietnam. April 30th, 1975. The most beautiful thing she had ever seen. An entire parking lot of refrigerators, abandoned, broken, and thrown about. This is how they chose to leave things, and she chose to be happy about it. Her brother will spend the rest of his life in prison. She visits him every third Sunday, tells him that it's good that they are gone, but he will never understand. They were his friends. And he consoles himself by saying, at least they left something, as if he could build a bridge of fridges to the other world. He could walk across like some famous adventurer, march the way they did, proud, facing forward as the whole town looks on. Soon, children will be born with lighter skin. And all that will be left of their fathers is what they made and left behind. Ruined and empty refrigerators, an entire lot of them, their entire world. And so that begins with the end of the American War, and that is a true story. There were just lots and lots of refrigerators and things that American soldiers left in Vietnam. And so this is the passage from Vietnam to America. Passages. There are reasons to stay. His wife and a degree of comfort to his life, which he adores. But tonight, he prepares to leave for the other shore. Near dawn, he heads to the east and follows the water, weaves through cities and fields. He arrives to find his cousin has become a shepherd, his house crowded by others who wish to be led to the boat. Everyone should own a boat or know how to build one. For 7 days, he walks from the house to the pier, from land to the water. For 7 days, they turn him back to the land. A child stands with him each day, also waiting to board, also alone. On the morning of the 8th day, a message. There are reasons to stay. As he leaves his cousin's house, he sees the child set out once more towards the water. He hopes the child gets on the boat. He hopes the child survives the boat. On land, rice porridge with 1,000-year-old eggs served in bowls like boats. The black egg pieces float like heads above the water. On the boat, there is nothing but salty water to drink and all around. The people packed so tightly, the smell of what they last ate is on their breath and clothes. The boat rocks them as if they are children. They sleep for a while, then wake up hungry. There are 4 of us now. I was delivered in a message. None of us can swim. We are afraid of water. We came by plane. Here's another poem about water. Overcome by water. Let me tell you about the rains. I have no memory of those years, but every one of your memories is wet and filmy, slippery. Your people are wet people, heavy with water, the burden of water for months so hard and loud. I am comforted by this. I realize that the reason I was ashamed of them, sometimes of you too, speaking that was always more like shouting, was that for so long, you had been trying to overcome the water. Your father used to bike home in the rain, covered in mud. All you could see were teeth, his smiling wild and wet for you. You should have told me sooner. I would have listened. I remember at the age of 8, I forgot to hold my breath and almost drowned, overcome by water. You used to love the water. You used to splash. They called us wetbacks. Backs wet with sweat. I take pride in that. Back so wet you could drink off of it, live off of it. So I grew up in Florida, and my parents said that they chose to immigrate to Florida specifically because the weather was exactly like Vietnam, very wet and very hot. And so this is a poem about that. We were made this way. We have all put on our summer skin, browned by minutes and hours spent out of doors, out of our minds with gratefulness that the hardest months are behind us. None of us can sleep in because once we are up, we are all wild and working, and you can't catch us. We were made this way by a man whose nickname was Awake. Even in his last months, when rest would have been a relief, there were pills to take and meals to eat to make the pills more bearable. Sleep was just a semicolon in the day's long sentence. So he paced, too cold for sleep and too weak to go outside where he would have liked it, where he could put up a ladder against a too tall tree and disappear for a few hours, heart pointed towards the light. It seems unfair now that this is when we are finally ourselves, sun-ripened, like the fruit we spend all summer picking, frantic not to waste his years of planting. And still, some fall before we can catch them, bruise and rot. We are sorry. We aren't sure how to go on without him. We just keep running towards the warmth. Tradition. Almost all fathers are the same. They want flowers. They tell their daughters to eat flowers for breakfast and put flowers in their hair. Women become flower gatherers, collect petals, but neglect the wholesome roots. When it is time to love, men give them pressed flowers. The name Jang means pinwheel flower. You may take its honey sucking from the stem if you are thirsty for something sweet. Chrysanthemum tea is made of crushed yellow buds. You can drink it while eating the flower cake that follows the floating flower soup. Her father did not want a daughter or a flower. She is allergic to blooms, their dust, the spring. Her name means rare book, scholar, not a flower. That poem is about a true tradition in Vietnam of naming women after flowers, and my name doesn't mean flower. It means what it says in the poem. But that is another poem about my father, and I've read a couple of them. And this was the first poem that was ever published by a journal, and it is about my father and fathers in general. And I see Hayes Davis in the back, and he was the one that encouraged me to submit this one. So, air, spelled H-E-I-R, so not like what we breathe. Air. And this is the epigraph. During 1997 to 98, more than 300 cotton farmers committed suicide in Andhra Pradesh, India. Most of the 300 dead were the male heads of family who were unable to pay back loans. In accordance with Indian policy, the government pardoned the debt of hundreds of families. And this is the poem. As if I could lift this, I made a promise to make things different, more fun, more lively, as if I could lift myself above you and not be pulled down. For you, I have shed daily afternoon tears of frustration, wet paper with my determination to get it right, my promise to you to be smart, to be a good girl. My ties to you did not break that afternoon when you were cut down. You thought sparing us the trouble meant the same thing as sparing us you. Some fool told you that saving us meant passing on, meant not passing on debt. But everything is handed down. You can pass on this, the memory of dinner time games of high-low. My high was always a joke you told, or debt, or unfulfilled promises. And weight, too. Even that is passed on, so that there is no way to get beyond. Rise above this, and I am impossibly heavy. And this is my last poem, and you've noticed a lot of nature imagery, and there's a lot of rain and trees, and so this is sort of the bridge between the Vietnamese culture and the American culture, and it's called Mud. Mud. When you forget to take off your shoes before entering, what it means to wear white in your hair, doom. How many times to flick the incense before surrendering to Buddha, you know that you have been away too long. If only there were fewer ways to address a relative and fewer relatives to address. One less obstacle to bridging the inevitable discomfort, crossing the distance from here to there. The slippery sweetness, desserts passed from mouth to mouth, mother to child, every precaution taken, even before birth. A daily diet of fresh papaya ensures a perfect complexion. Bụi đời are the dirt of life. Orphan children, life's dirt rising. An unlucky child, the firstborn, a girl, with no understanding yet of luck or what it means to be unwanted. But huge almond eyes foretell a bright future, journeys made from far and wide in the pursuit of her hard-worked-for perfection, to show her how much she is wanted. Winds, like change, stir things up, and the dirt rises like air, in air, God knows where, a land forsaken. The pure sense of things, of good and bad, clean and dirty, lost. Amongst bad people who are always clean, scrubbing white the girl, undoing her world. Precautions taken, forgotten, rituals erased by routine. Building a new land inside old people is like taking the bụi out of dye, dirt out of life, building sandcastles out of mud children. What we have lost is not nearly as much as what we have gained, a priceless future bought with more joy than pain, lifting dirt from the ground after rain. Thank you.
Well, that was great. I want to thank all the poets and all of you for coming out tonight. If you need another poetry fix, 2 weeks from now, same time, 7:30 p.m., November 17th, we'll be having another reading called Words Have Power. Features 4 poets, Hazel Cherry, Laura Costas, Catherine Smith, and Emily Walls. So hope you come back for that. And if you want more info about all our upcoming events, you can sign up for our e-newsletter and check out the art out in the atrium on your way out. Thanks again for coming. Good night.